time for the last word this afternoon. Peter Gleeson joins me as usual on a Thursday, and Annelise Nielsen, one of my colleagues, is up in Townsville. Annelise, you've been talking up there to some veterans, of course, a really important campaign going on at the moment about veteran suicide. So talk us through what's been going on up there in Townsville, of course, a very big defence town.
That's exactly why we're here. It's the largest garrison city in the country, and we wanted to talk to veterans specifically about what support they think they need when they come out of service and back into civilian life, because we know what an issue veteran suicide has become. It's 18% higher among men who serve in the Defence Forces when they come out of service compared to the rest of the population, and it's something that we have seen become a huge talking point this week. Paul Murray hosting that panel with mothers of sons who've lost their lives to suicide since they served in the Defence Forces, and so that's why we're here. We want to talk to veterans about what support they think they need, and they think there is a lot that can be done.
What is that? Because look, we sit here and it's always hard to know sometimes unless you're involved. You know, you have personal experience with a policy area, and then sometimes you realise what's needed, why a policy might be a good or a bad idea. What are they saying is still lacking?
Well, what's really interesting is what a lot of them are saying is they need support to find work. They need to find jobs where they do feel as fulfilled. And often it is hard coming out of that environment where you've been in the Defence Force and you're following orders and you're following directions to then come out and be put under that onus to then find your own work. But if you don't, that's the really dangerous stopgap where you don't have a purpose and you don't have that community. That's a really other strong theme we've been getting from veterans, is they're saying that you lose that camaraderie with your friends, and so you need that social support. But the other aspect has been the basics, the support for those who are addicted to drugs or alcohol to deal with their depression. But what's really interesting is we're not hearing a lot of support for a Royal Commission, and that's something we're going to be really asking veterans about over the next few days.
It's an interesting point, Peter. Look, one thing Darren Chester always stresses as the Minister is, yes, we need to talk about support, but also talk up veterans as good employees. Most of them are a hell of a lot more disciplined than probably me or you, for example, when they're told they need to do something or the alarm goes off. You know, so these can make really good, veterans can make really good employees, and that needs to be encouraged as well.
Yeah, full credit to the Telly and Sky News for getting involved in this issue. I've got a very good friend, Tom, who spent a lot of time in Rwanda about 15 years ago, and he was telling me the other day that of the 19 that was in his squad or his group that he came back from, 9 have committed suicide. And I think that statistic says it all. And, you know, Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister, has often boasted about how he's a hands-on politician, a guy who, you know, doesn't let the bureaucrats run the show. Well, this is an example, I understand, where we're getting a lot of blocking at bureaucratic level to some of the aid and some of the help that these people need. So I think we need to cut through the bureaucracy. Chester is a good minister. I'm sure he's working overtime on this particular issue, but we need to look after our veterans better. There's absolutely no doubt about it, in particular the mental health aspect.
There are still big issues in the portfolio. There's no doubt that there are issues, for example, around whether sometimes veterans qualify for certain care, and then when they don't, the impact that has on them. So, you know, I do think that Darren Chester is working on this, but yeah, absolutely, still more needs to happen in this area.